look at, of course, multiple exit strategies. So we've done incredibly well a few times, and that is saying, okay, so if we get this, so here's the story. We're in escrow on a property in a neighborhood called Little Beverly in Palm Springs. It's a mid-century modern house. It's a junker. It's fine, perfect, that's what we want, it's a junker. But it's in a really great neighborhood, facing the right direction, everything's great about it. So we look at it and say, okay, we're gonna have to put 150 into it, no problem, we've done that before, and we'll sell it for 680, 700,000. We're buying it for 375. We also know 2 or 3 extremely good agents in the area that only focus on mid-century modern. They will work with flippers like us, who are their clients, and they also work with end buyers. So first, before we put it on the MLS, before we do 1 little ounce of rehab, we're going to say this is how much profit we want to make and try to flip it to them first before we do anything. And we've done that a few times, and it's worked incredibly well. We are just now selling one of our rental properties, which I never thought we'd be selling in rentals, but it makes financial sense. And next door is a real estate agent that we've worked with many times, and we told her we were going to sell it, and she's like, oh, I have Canadian buyers, they're probably going to want this. And I said, well, if we fix it, we're going to sell it and make 55 on it at this price, but we'll sell it to your buyers at 195, which will net the same profit. But 195 is it's not worth it. It's a high price, and they took it like that. So always look, ask people, ask the experts in your area, ask other people that do what you do, and see if you can sell it first for the same price. Why go through the exercise of a rehab if you don't have to?
Yeah.
So we're doing that. We are flipping one of our mid-century modern houses that we bought years ago, and we're going to actually completely remodel it and looking at putting an ADU in to make it even more valuable, because it would be a perfect vacation rental. So it depends on the neighborhood, it depends on, so many factors. It's not easy to just go, oh, this is what we're doing. It just varies.
Remain flexible.
Yeah.
So you mentioned ADU, and I know the guys are doing a lot of ADU. So why don't you tell people what an ADU is about that whole thing?
So an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. I'm sure some of you guys have heard about it. We're super excited about them. As many of you may know, the California market is super behind on its housing, quantity or what it needs to produce for the flocks of people coming in here, even though flocks are going out. We're behind, I want to say 1.8 million doors that need to be built by 2025, and we're nowhere near that, right? So the great thing is the state decided to pass this ordinance that allows people with single family homes to build an accessory dwelling unit that you can legally rent out. You can, if you'd like, meter it separately. And so it has all these great things to it. But then cities now are allowed to make their own rules around it. Great city of Pasadena has made it very difficult to achieve an ADU. But it makes sense. It's a very historical city. Residents are super involved in what's happening. They're going to complain about parking and this and that and all the other things that come with extra residents in their areas. But city of Los Angeles, which has the largest shortage of housing, falls into more of a high urban density areas. So what they're doing with that is, as long as homes are within, let's say half a mile of bus stops or train stops, it eliminates a lot of the parking requirements. So now you're able to build these units without having to have that 2-car garage or whatever you may need typically, right? And then the other thing, prior to this ordinance, you were able to build these storage units, but they couldn't have, bathrooms or kitchens, whereas now these ADUs
rumpus rooms.
Yeah. So now you can build these units, right? So we're super excited, and we actually have, for our buy and hold portfolio, we have about 12 ADUs going at different stages. So that's 12 different properties where we're now going to have 24 rental units. So that's huge for us, right, on the rental side. And then we're also building it for some of our consumer clients. And like Janet mentioned, being very flexible and being open to seeing all of the exit strategies is key. So there have been cases where we paint the picture for one of our end buyers at one of our homes, one of our flips that's for sale, and we say, hey, we can convert this for you. And they end up hiring us after the fact. Or we do a piece of it, we get it to approval, and then they hire their own contractor. So there's just really creative ways of continuing to create and generate that cash flow and income. What else are we doing with the ADUs?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, me too. Is there anything else you wanted me to touch
No,
on?
but I know that I've heard you speak before, so I want to hit
Yeah,
on
yeah.
another subject, and that is, you talked about your rentals.
Mhm.
So with the ADUs, you're not just monthly renting them, right? You're doing also some Airbnb with that too?
We do have some Airbnb. It's not our preferred choice. So that's very strategic on our part to buy in areas where the rents are really solid or they're higher. We see a lot of future development. So our particular pockets are all around Echo Park, Elysian Valley, which are the closest single-family neighborhoods to downtown LA. And everyone knows downtown is just becoming the hottest thing in the world, right? So, and there's just so much growth happening. Magic Johnson being involved with the Dodger Stadium in that whole area, and he has the golden touch, and then everything happening in downtown, right? So, and those people who are cool and single and young, I try to put myself in that category. We get sick of living in cool lofts and concrete floors, and at some point we grow up and then we want to settle down or maybe start a family, but you still work in downtown, so you want to move right around there. And so we're strategically setting ourselves up in those areas, and rents are just solid over there. I mean, for example, the ADUs that we're building with the single family home up front, which was existing, we typically do an addition on that, make it a 3-2, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's going to rent out for typically anywhere from $4,000 to $4,500.
1,300 square feet.
1,300 square feet. The accessory dwelling unit can be anywhere from 600 to roughly 1,000 square feet, and those will go anywhere from 3,500 to maybe about 4,200 because we're building some with rooftops.
Wow.
So, but being very creative about the design, the finishes you use, as well as the setting it up for that demographic that's coming in there. So we know a lot of these people don't have cars and they like using Uber or biking. We're near the LA River, we're near bike paths, we're near Elysian Park where people love to hike. So it's being very strategic about areas that are going to remain solid for a really long time.
And you're setting up decks for them as well?
Yeah, a lot of them I'd say, I think maybe only the first one or two that we did, we didn't factor that in, but as we move forward, the 8 to 10 that we have coming up are all going to have rooftop decks because it just gives them an extra space and views and just another entertaining area.
So, is everybody finding this interesting? Let's just delve a little more into ADUs,
Sure,
if you don't mind. So how long is it taking you to get plans, and how long is it taking you to actually build? And what's your strategy with all of that?
So it depends on what you have going on. So there's a couple properties that we have where there's already a 2-car garage and there's an additional storage space that ends up being about 200 square feet. So there's already a 600 square foot structure there. Those, if it's built correctly, you can actually get those approved over the counter, so to speak. But that can still take anywhere from 30 to 60 days. That's what over the counter is in LA. If we're starting from scratch, which most of ours are, they're new builds, those are typically going to take right around 4 to 5 months in planning to approval. And then we can build those in 4 months.
Okay, so 8 months of
Yeah, 8 months to 10 months and it's built, yeah.
And you're renting out the front property at the
Right.
same time.
And so when we submit the ADU, we've already got our over-the-counter remodel permits to do the front house, so we get that up and running, and that's where we typically Airbnb because there's still construction that's going to happen on the back unit. So we've even looked at 2 options there. You can, if you don't want to Airbnb, you can rent it out long term, and what we've come up with is discounted rent for our long-term tenants during construction. So the day we start construction, your rent will drop $500 or whatever it may be,
For
until
that
it's
morning
completed.
pounding?
Yeah, for that 7 o'clock tractor or whatever it may be. Yeah.
Are you guys doing prefab or all custom built because you're in Elysian Park? And you have...
I know there've been a couple prefab things built around LA, but I know that it's still not quite there where you can just throw something up or use shipping containers. LA is not about that. You know, and you have to consider the foundation, the structures, the fact that we're earthquake country. So I think prefab and modular stuff is still a ways out to where the city will be open to embracing it, you know. So I haven't seen really any done. But if you own your own home and you're doing, let's say, a little shed, that's really possible. There's a few of my neighbors that have done that, but that's a whole different thing. That's not a legal ADU.
So one of the other things that's happening in the marketplace is that some people are, changing the use of the property.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've started to dive into. So my partner and I are buying single-family homes that are zoned multifamily. We're knocking them down and building fourplexes.
Nice.
And so it's a really different strategy, and it's kind of it's weird for me because the pace of it is different than the flipping.
Long, right?
Yeah, it's long.
And they're just sitting, making those payments every month.
Yeah. Going, are the plans done yet? Are the plans done yet? Are the plans done yet? And so, so it's a really different process. And we've got 2 of those going, and then we also picked up a property that is, basically it's a single-family home that's on a lot that's about a half an acre. And so we're gonna do a lot subdivision on this home. So we're rehabbing the front home, and we're gonna rent it out, because we figure this process is gonna take us about 18 months, maybe 24 months. And this is, the person that I'm partnered with is a developer, but this particular model is a little new for both of us. So, it's trying different things in this market,
totally.
right? You have to get a little more creative. Design-wise, you have to get creative. You got to get creative with the lot itself, figuring out multiple exits, different uses.
Yeah, speaking of lots, I mean, we haven't done subdivisions. Well, we had a small lot, I guess, small lot. That would have been our subdivision, where we took a duplex, subdivided it, but under the small lot ordinance, and we were able to build 5 of those skinny single-family homes that are 4 inches apart. Some of you may have seen. So,
really?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So that's cool. That's another version. But I think small lot, there's been a lot of pushback from neighborhoods, and so I think that wave is like on its way down. But except for the projects that are already being built and approved. But speaking of lots, where we found a huge amount of success is we've been able to identify certain properties where it's one home sitting on 2 lots, or you can tell, like, this is a double lot compared to every home around it. And then we do our due diligence, and then you find out that you can untie those lots. At some point, the owner said, or had the opportunity of buying 2 lots, and they built their home right in the middle. And so we buy those. Typically, the city requires you to demolish the home, then you can untie them, so it's not a subdivision. You're taking it back to its original separate lots.
Probably doesn't take as long.
Probably. and then now you're, once you untie them, you're able to now start working on the original lot, and then you have to wait for your APN, your address, and everything to be assigned to the second lot. But that's worked out really well for us too.
Okay, is that a little hidden gem?
So look at those weird lots in your neighborhood that are larger than everything else around them.
Yeah, write it down. Okay, cool. Okay, so one of the questions we have here is, when is the flipping trend going to end? Does anybody have an idea? Or
Dennis likes to speak on that.
Oh, okay. Good.
I mean, when is it going to end, right? You guys should see Bruce Norris on the, the 8th? And
Yeah.
September 8th. Yeah, hopefully he'll tell you. But, I mean, for us, we just really keep a strong pulse on the markets that we work in, right? So we don't tend to venture out anywhere else and renovate our homes. We do projects for other investors outside of our local neighborhoods. So we have a project going on in Dana Point and one on the west side. But, I mean, we love to work in the Pasadena market. We understand what you guys mentioned before, the buyer demographics, right? We really focus on who's buying in the neighborhoods that we're in. So we look at all this, Anil and I look at all the sold homes that have happened over the last 6 months or a year. We pull title, we figure out how much down are these new buyers coming in with. We look at the renovated homes, what kind of down payments are the renovated homes getting put down on, and then we try to figure out, hey, how many buyers are coming in cash? It tells us a little bit about what's going on in the neighborhood. And the areas that we work in, they're typically putting down 30% or buying it all cash. So last time when the market shifted or changed, there were a lot of loans where people were coming down with 0% to 5% down, and that's what because the shift was. There was a lot of fraudulent loans. So in the areas we're working in, there are well qualified buyers, and if something were to change, we would be able to start to see that shift a little bit earlier, as opposed to working in the FHA market. FHA market, I think you'll start to see that trend or a shift in the tone of what's going on with the buyers right away. So know your market really well, know your demographics really well, and do the work. I mean, we're looking at things that we know other investors don't like to look at. I mean, who's going to pull title on 1,000 homes? I mean, that's what we do. But it helps us. It helps us understand. And every time we put a property up for sale, we want to know from the agents, what is the buyer's background? Where are they working at? Where did they come from? How did they save so much money? I mean, ask these questions. You have a right as a seller to ask. I mean, the worst they can do is not to.
We are our own little mini research firm because all that stuff helps us know. I mean, we've realized in our markets that so many of our buyers come from New York, the West Side, or San Francisco. And to those people, LA real estate East Side real estate is super cheap. And so
it's on sale. They're coming from $1,000 to $3,000 a square foot and buying in our neighborhoods for $600, $700. So it's a steal. And then they go buy their second home in the desert area, So.
And they come and see you.
Yeah, their second home.
I mean, it happens,
Right.
But I mean, and then once you have that knowledge, share it with your friends, with your teams, with your colleagues. I mean, we meet with Debbie every so often and try to share information. What's going on? I mean, she has a $2.7 million property. We want to know what happened. What are the types of buyers that were coming in? You have to do your research and collaborate with other investors, realtors, anyone that's familiar with the area you're working in. Very, very important that you can have a team or a group to share information like that too.
All of us up here have mentioned the same thing in different ways of being flexible. I like to say being able to pivot, right? And one strategy that we found a lot of times, especially when you're flipping a home, and Debbie, talking about your Linda Vista property, right? It's like as soon as it's ready, you're like, I want to get that thing on the market. But then we found great success on, I want to say, the last 3 or 4 of our flips where it's like, yes, it's still a hot market, and yes, there are a ton of buyers out there, but you got to be really careful about the day you put it on. First impressions are huge, and some people don't even look at anything else. They're like, my home's ready, it's staged, or maybe not in some cases, and they get their pictures and they're like, list it, right, to their agent. We found huge success in, wait, let's pump the brakes. This home's ready. It looks great. Show it off to friends and family or whoever else. But drive the other open houses. Look at your competition, not in a bad way, but communicate with those agents and find out why they're not selling or why they are. And just the last few homes, it's been where we communicated with the listing. There was another great property. We're like, wow, that's a great property. It's going to go quickly. Or there were actually in our Eagle Rock market, there were 3 other great flips. So we're like, why are we going to come out and compete with them? Instead, communicate with them, find out when they're, and then you find out that they're going into escrow, they've accepted an offer, or where they're at sometimes. And we were able to time those 2 flips to where we listed right after all those broken hearts went home. And I
wish there was another great home.
100 broken hearts, like I didn't get accepted, and then boom, we are their new light. We list our home, they get their Redfin alert, and they're like, oh my God, and so and then they rush out, and then that's how you create another super successful flip, is by making sure you're not competing, but you collaborate with your competition.
We love it when our flipped home turns into a hot home on Redfin. I mean, that's the goal. So we send it out to all our friends and family, realtors saying, hit like, please.
Yeah, like it, follow in.
And if you do it strategically, it forces all the other buyers that are looking to buy in that neighborhood, like, I have to act quick because this thing is tracking and it's going to be gone soon. So.
Janet, what are you seeing in your market as far as flipping? Is it slowing? Is it just busting out the walls? What's going on?
So we flip a lot of different kinds of homes. We'll flip to, blue collar workers, and we flip vacation homes. So the vacation homes, we have one coming on the market. Our residents, our tenants are moving out next Friday. And so we'll flip that, but the idea is to get them out in a timely manner so that we're bringing it to market in January, December, January. because that's when our market starts heating up out there.
Mhm.
I mean, although it's turned into kind of a non-seasonal market out there, I mean, it is all year long. You really don't want somebody coming around going to open houses when it's 115 degrees, because they're not real happy. I mean, it really sucks driving around, running from AC to AC. And then we have the modernism, big deal. But the other houses, I mean, again, we don't flip that much. So our stuff isn't that seasonal. We don't flip high end at all. We'll stay away from it out there. The other thing we will 100% stay away from, it is a dying market, at least in our opinion, is the whole country club. They're dying quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The HOAs are expensive. Nobody wants to spend money on that. You don't see a lot of younger people coming in wanting to live in a golf course home. They're just not excited about that. Who wants to spend $800 to $1,000 a month on an HOA? It's not exciting. Or even $300 to $500. It's just not worth it, especially if that's your second home. But like what you said, I mean, it's just.
Are your buyers living, having it as a second home, or are they Airbnb-ing it, or are they, what are they? Because that's a big Airbnb market.
I'm just thinking about
although
what
that's
we've
up for
sold
debate,
this year.
isn't it?
The only other 2 flips we did this year were second homes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we flip in this one area where it's mostly Canadian buyers. So they'll come in and buy. You got to be careful of that. So a couple years ago, when was that? Three years ago, when the Canadian dollar changed, we were not paying attention to that, and we got hammered on a house that was only selling to Canadian buyers, and we barely made any money on it when we thought we were going to make 50, 60 grand on it. So be aware of who your buyer is and what their dollar's doing if they're not from this area where you're from. So it's just being aware of who your buyer is a really big deal. Yeah.
Deb, do you have anything to add? No? Okay, cool. We'll go on. So what kind of advice would you give somebody who wants to get in the market right now, who wants to start flipping or start doing this? What kind of advice would you
I think
give them?
do your homework and put in the work. A lot of, I mean, we get so many calls from so many people saying, I want you to mentor us, right, or me, or whatever it is. And I say, cool, come in, and I give them a list of things, like, what area do you live in? And then I say, drive the area, go to open houses, then I'll show them on Redfin, hey, this is how you look at all the sold homes over the last 3 months, 6 months, and then we like to look at price per square foot, right? So I give a pretty detailed list of things to do, but in easy steps, and then a day later, a couple days later, I hear crickets, and I'm thinking, okay. I mean, I spend time, so I'm really careful. We're really careful on who we want to give our time to, because there are a lot of people out there who are looking for this kind of golden ticket, right? And something easy, and they see the things that we're putting out now, but they didn't see us driving to Sacramento, San Francisco 10 years ago and trying to figure out how are we going to fund this deal. How are we going to pay for gas to get up there?
Driving all night, these guys have fallen asleep, and I'm slapping myself in the face with the windows down just to make that last 30 minutes.
We're listening to like Mike Cantu CDs, if you know Mike Cantu. And it's just like...
And he's telling you to only flip in your one zip code right around where you live as we're driving up to San Francisco.
But I mean, a lot of people, they don't want to put in the work. And, it's the easiest thing that you can do. It is. There's not a secret formula, and it's not rocket science. Stick to one area. I mean, people want to try and flip from Orange County to San Bernardino County lines, Riverside County, all the way to the west side, and I'm thinking, do you even know the cities that are in between? This is crazy.
Pick a neighborhood. Just focus on one neighborhood.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's
That's
enough.
it.
There's enough.
I mean, if you do that, and then you start to understand that pocket, you understand what the trends of the homes are doing in the past, and you start to see what's happening currently, you'll start to predict patterns for the future. And then once you know that neighborhood well, you can expand it. Go to the next neighborhood and slowly build on it, right? But I really do think there's just a lot of lazy people out there that don't want to put in the work. And I mean, there's no reward if you can't put in the work. So, I mean, stick to the basics and do the basics well, and it'll make you an expert. And then once you're an expert, people will gravitate towards you. They know that you understand your local market. They know you understand the trends. And once you start speaking that language, more and more people, investors like us, will want to figure out, hey, teach me about it, and I'll teach you other things. You know, make yourself marketable and knowledgeable in a way where people want to come to you, instead of you going to them and trying to figure out what's that golden, secret. There's not anything there. Make yourself valuable so you can share that information.
I'm gonna build on that, because my advice to getting into flipping or in this market is to partner, but be the best partner ever. I mean, and I'm just gonna say this because that's how I did it. I met somebody who had flipped, and I said, I want to be your partner. I was willing to bring capital and basically do all the work. They were guiding me, right? And I made sure I was the best partner ever. I made sure I was not only adding value to that house, but I was adding value to the partnership. Because that partner will partner with me again. And that partner, I still talk to that partner, right? We have a relationship, and that relationship is thick because you flip together. So, if you want to contribute at a high level. Whether it's researching and knowing your area, whether it's making sure you're the best partner there, you have to put in something.
But know your strengths too,
Yeah.
because if you know what your strengths are, and you know what your potential partner strengths are, you guys should be able to figure out how to solve all kinds of puzzles. It's when you start working on things that aren't your strength. Like, I don't pay any of our bills. I don't even have a checkbook. This guy doesn't. He handles everything. I don't even know how to sign loan docs. So you guys know. I was in lending, and I don't know how to sign any loan docs. But that's not my strength. But I could find deals. We have a ton of deals. We have an abundance of deals. That's my strength. And these guys allow myself and Anil to focus strictly on that. So we keep this machine rolling, right? The moment you start working on your weaknesses, it gets tough. Things that would take.
It's not exciting.
It's not
Well,
exciting.
It's impossible to do every
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
You will never get anywhere if you're doing every job. You'll be running in circles. Just trying to catch up the whole time. You do nothing. And then if you do anything, you won't do it well anyway.
Yep. We have, we highly recommend, if you guys haven't done this, and especially when you find that right partner, both of you take the DISC assessment and take the Strength Finders 2.0 assessment. Everyone that joins our team, that even has the potential, even if we're like, maybe this person can join the team, they take both of those assessments, we look at it, we talk about it. Our hiring process, we're currently interviewing, we have so much going on, 32 projects, that we need to bring in. It's actually a lot more valuable for us to bring in our own in-house architect. So we're interviewing a few people right now, but one in particular who's made it past. We have a 9-step interview process, and that includes something as simple as grabbing coffee with each partner, grabbing lunch or dinner with his whole family so we could see that dynamic, observe their manners, observe how they treat the waiter.
I have a
all of
flipper
those
friend
things.
who doesn't partner with anybody they haven't played cash flow with.
There you go.
Do
Like,
know
have
how
your
much you
criteria.
learn?
Have
You
your
learn
criteria.
about people,
Yeah, exactly. So you
know?
have your criteria. We throw them in like our conference room watching a video. We're observing them. They don't know that. 'cause
I'm
they're
not
watching.
coming back to your office.
Debbie had a desk in our office.
Whoa.
Debbie made it in.